All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Robert Gabriel, President and CEO of Microwise Technology, and I have Kim Fergus with me. She's going to help me. I want to thank you so much for joining today and taking the time out of your busy schedule. Just a disclaimer, anything you learn today, you need to be verify yourself. Microwise cannot be held responsible of any of loss of revenue or data. And especially today, because we're going to, of course, talk about ChatGPT, which is a very controversial issue, and how ethically you can use it or verify those type of things yourself. I'm just giving a suggestion, not telling you how to run your business. This is today's agenda. We're going to talk about how to customize a patient statement, how to handle an interest payment, how to post a takeback, and how to utilize ChatGPT in your practice. Then we also open for Q&A. So I dedicated this time for you. So please ask me any questions if you have any, even if it's not related to the topics that we have on the agenda. All right, let's get started. So first, we're going to start with customizing statements. So statements are multiple types of statements. So I'm going to talk about the easiest one first. So I'm going to just open a transaction. So let's say if I open Ben Affleck here, and if I open any of the transaction of Ben Affleck. Now, this has been in Medisoft for many, many years, where you have transaction and you can actually attach a note to the transaction. So I just don't want to take anything for granted. I'm just going to show you, just in case if anybody's new to Medisoft is watching this, they will learn something new. Okay, I can actually click on note here. Then in note, you have three different sections. So this is transaction note. This is internal use only, it doesn't go on statement. And if you type something here, it will go on a statement only if the statement has the same field that picks up the statement note, which is what you're going to type here. Then this is the type of note here that will go on a transaction, electronic transaction, which is like if you're doing a drug, if you sending information about a drug or something like that. If you're doing billing, you probably know this area already, if it's applicable to your specialty. Otherwise, you probably not going to get paid for certain things. So that's the note that you will type manually from a transaction entry. Not necessarily that's the way you're doing it, but I'm just covering all things. So now to make this work, there's an area where you need to customize your template for the statement to make this work. So you go to report and you go to custom report list. Okay, now statements are two different types. Then a statement from here, that's the very old way of having statement in Medisoft. Then they added statement management, which is if you're running your statements from here, that's statement management, and that will reflect on statement from here. If you're running your statement from the menu, like if you go report, you run it from up here, the menu, then that will be the regular statement. So those, I know it's confusing, but you need to understand both sections, because if you're trying to customize one statement, but you're running your statement from a different method, it's not going to work. You're not going to see what you customize. So you go to design custom report, then you will open the type of statement that you want. And here you click the open button. And just like I show you when you were running the type of statement, or you will have here statement here, or you will have statement management here. So if statement management is the one I'm trying to customize, so let's say I'm going to take this particular one, I'm going to open it. Then on the transaction itself, the transaction line, they have to be a node there, a field to pick up the custom node. Now, so this is the transaction entry. And let's say if you wanted to have that node, you will need to attach the data field. Now you will need to make this transaction section bigger, and you will need to attach this data field, and that data field will you have to pick the one that's called a statement note, and that's how it picks it up. Now, I don't recommend printing statement in-house the way with those type of forms. I highly, highly recommend that everybody should use Bill Flash, and for many, many reasons. Number one is they look a lot more professional. Number two, when you do the math between what it costs to send a statement on when you print it, use the ink, use the paper, use the stamp, when you add your time and or any employee that you have, it will cost you more than what you will be sending if you will send it out using a professional service like Bill Flash. Now, to me, the most obvious reason why I like Bill Flash a lot better or any other service that is a statement service is because it takes you a lot less time. So a lot of people don't send statements because it takes so much time. And the more they linger, the more they wait for sending statement, the harder it gets, because when you send it out, you don't have balances up to date because it's been neglected. You get bombarded with phone calls. You will regret sending statement and you stop sending statement. So by not sending statement is a business committing suicide, because patients are not just going to pay you because they want to pay you. Unfortunately, patient thinks that doctors' offices are very rich and they're the last people that need to get paid. And we know how true that is. Either I want you to send statement as often as you can. I have people that send statements every day. What do you mean sending statement every day? There's something in Medisoft is called billing cycle. So when you do your billing cycle 28 days, when you print statement as a batch, it will ignore anything that was sent in the last 28 days. Unless their balance changes. So if their balance changes, that means that when EOB came up, and somebody posted payment and made a new balance for the patient due, then if you print statement, then another statement will go out because the balance changes. So it's a good business to send statement. I'm not saying send it every day, but I do have people that send statements every day. They don't duplicate statement, of course. You don't want to duplicate statements. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the more often you send it, the easier it is, the better the business, the patient is going to know that you're serious about collecting money and they're not going to neglect it or ignore you requesting money for them to pay their fair share. That's deductible, co-payment, co-insurance. It's just getting bigger and bigger, and patients becoming your biggest payer in some specialty. So insurance companies are not the biggest payer anymore. In many specialties, patients are actually have more skin in the game, and you don't want to ignore that and feel bad about billing patients. You will wind up out of business if you ignore patient statement. Now, every business is different, every practice is different. I'm just talking in my experience and in general. Now, let me show you what I recommend. So I would go to statement management here, and I will just click print send, and I will choose electronic. I will pick the Bill Flash one, and I will hit send. Okay, and it will just go through the normal process that you used to. Then it will come up with something like this, and you will you proofread your statements and make sure everything is nice. Now, this is, of course, has a lot more advantage because you get to type a note on it manually. So think of like you have a piece of your statement on paper. A lot of people, they stuck to that because they have the flexibility of typing a note on it. Guess what? You still have that flexibility here where you can still type the note. So that's number one. Number two is almost everybody will have a link to have the patient make a payment online. So they're good business to do. And another benefit is when you have a patient calling you about their statement balance, regardless if you do this in-house or you have somebody help you. If I go to a patient and let's say I have a FLAC, and if I click on this button here, it says view statement. So when you click on this button, it will take you to the image of what the statement looks like, or the patient calling you on. If the patient has more than one statement, you will be able to browse through the different statement here. Maybe that patient got 3 different statements. There's a proof of sending that statement, so nobody can claim that you never send them statements. Also, there's a service where if the patient moves that didn't tell you, it will get you a report. It will send you a report with everybody that moved and didn't tell you, so you can fix your database. So there's so many features that I love about electronic statement. And best of all, I don't get paper cut. I don't have to lick a stamp, and I can send them in a few minutes instead of sending them in that takes a few hours to do. Also, if you do that, one of the other ways of sending a message or on a statement is I can actually go to file, and I then go to program options. and I do have a bill flash section here, so I can actually pre-type my messages here. Also, if you, I don't expect everybody will be able to do that, but you can have actually an if statement, and you can have a message for the statement. If they over 30 days, it will have a different node than if they over 60 days, than if they over 90 days. So you can have a condition message where that sends paying the statement. Now, any questions regarding, one more way of typing note. So when you're posting payment, okay, we all know about the posting paper check. You do have the place there where you can type canned messages. So that was added now in revenue management. So when you do electronic remittance, you do have a place now where you can actually post a canned message. So if I can just come here and hit assign note, and those are all canned messages, so you can customize those messages to your need. Or now I do like to have the messages to be maybe corresponding with the error message. Error messages are RC001 or something like that. So you can match it with the exact message that you have on the EOB. Now, I'm sure everybody knows that you're like here, the PR3, when you hover over it, you get to see it, and the CO45. So I think it's a good practice to match those messages. We call them the same thing, call the comment or the message CO45 PR3. And if you hit print here, by the way, and you hit the report, you will actually get to see all the comments or the messages that sends electronically down here on the paper EOB. Okay. All right. So there's, this is just a refresher of how, the different nodes and the different message that you can send out. So unless you have a question, I'll move on with the next topic. Now, if you need to interrupt, just either unmute yourself and speak up the question. We don't have a big crowd today. Okay. So the next thing is how to post an interest charge. So sometimes the insurance company will send you an extra payment for interest. And I find the best practice to do that is to create one patient, call it interest payment, and apply that extra money to that interest payment. Yes, that interest payment patient will wind up with a huge negative balance. That's okay. That's all the money that you received. But I don't know what other methods you might figure out, but this is how I think that the easiest way to do. Kevin, do you have any opinion in that area here?
No,
I think that's a lot more
one of the
experience in
best
billing than
ways.
me.
Yeah, that's one of the best ways. Generally, practices will either leave the amount unapplied in the deposit bag, which can be kind of tricky in terms of running reports, but creating a patient for interest payment is definitely a really good way to be able to do that and to be able to track how much money you're receiving from interest payment specifically.
All right. Anybody else on the meeting have an opinion on that or better way of handling? All right, I'll take that as a no. So, all right, then the take back. So let's go over the take back. The take back is nothing new there, just covering in case of somebody new watching this. So you will come here and you will create your ever check, and you'll put the check number, and you will add. Let's say if my check was $100, but and the insurance was Aetna. Okay, so when you're applying the first one, you apply a payment to. So let's say if this was $100, and I'm going to apply this to let's say Ben Affleck, and let's say I picked it now, but let's say it's really United. So when you doing here, so watch this. I have $100 unapplied amount, but let's say if the take back was $20. Now watch a couple things. The remainder here is going to increase to $100. So now Ben Affleck has a $100 remainder, and the unapplied amount is 120. Went up from 100 to 120. And now, even if that money was shifted for the same patient from one date of service to another, that's okay. Or if that money belongs to a different patient, then you can do that as well by start applying, going to the other patient and start applying the money. All right. So now let's talk to the biggest thing that everybody talks about. And let me see if I covered, if there's any other topic I have here. Okay. So we're back to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is something, it's amazing that I'm still finding people that never heard of it. So is there anybody on the call that never heard of ChatGPT?
Okay, it looks like Homer saying that he has not heard of
Take that as
ChatGPT
an on,
before.
everybody. Okay. All right. So we all used of Google. Okay. And Google is you just go and ask a question about a zip code, or ask a question about, a company you're looking for, or ask a question about. But ChatGPT it means what it sounds like. It's something to chat with. So it's almost like having your own assistant in the office, and have that person, you ask that person something, can you check spelling of my document, or where is this zip code? So this is an actual question that came to me. Somebody asked me, how when you deal with Medicare in the state of New York, New York has upstate and downstate, and sometimes it's very ambiguous to know if zip code, this particular zip code is upstate or downstate. Now, of course, you can Google this and you can find the answer, but you have to read so many answers. A ChatGPT is artificial intelligence that comes and talks to you almost like a human, which is artificial intelligence. And it's amazing if you read what it responds here, it's amazing what it responds. And this is just a small example. So it's telling me that the 14850 is exactly in the middle, but historically, only the upstate New York is considered in the upstate, so this is considered a downstate area. So this is something almost like a human in your office or in any business that you will ask, and somebody that there's always that one person knowledgeable in any place, or you have to call somebody. This is your assistant. This is the new assistant that you will be actually asking and answering you. Now, I'm not saying you need to use it that way, but I'm just going to show you examples of how sophisticated this can get. Okay. Now, ChatGPT is made for everybody. It's not made for medical. It's not made for a billing company. It's not made for me or you. It's made for everybody. So I'm just giving it something very ridiculous and telling it, create me a sub note for a 55 years old male that came to my office in Paris, and this person was complaining of abdominal pain. And this how detailed it came up with the chief complaint, past medical history, past surgical history, social history. And this is just a sample. There's no way that ChatGPT will guess all of this, but it's just showing you the format. It's showing you a sample. This is just an example of how sophisticated ChatGPT is. You can follow up with another question. When you're chatting with a person and say, ask a question, then the answer, you feel like, I was not clear enough. You can actually clarify your question or rephrase your question, and it will answer you. So I said, use the above medical note. Give me the billing code including CPT code, ICD-10, and modifiers. And this is what it came back with. So I'm not saying you wouldn't do that, but I'm just saying one of the ways you can double check your coding by taking a medical note, make sure you don't have anything that's HIPAA protected, like an HPI on it. And did I say HPI? Like any protective health information. Make sure it's not revealing anybody's name or information. And just use John Doe. I don't care what name you use, as long as it's not a real patient, and it will come back and give you, you can see if you're billing right or not. Now, this is not being a certified coder or not. This is just a suggestion of how sophisticated this can get, and what my brain was thinking when I was trying to test it. Now, then I give it a question and I said, okay, what is the recommended billing prices for 99203? And it just came back, and the range of billing is between 110 and 130. Now, it's probably assuming that he knows I'm in premise, so it doesn't have to ask me where is your office, or are you an inpatient or outpatient, or I already told it it was a medical office, and I already told it was premise range of a price, a suggested price. Okay, now I used another example of saying, can you create me an appeal letter for a rejected claim for an emergency surgery? So this is my question. Generate me an appeal letter for Medicare of New Jersey for a rejected medical claim. The claim was for emergency surgery and was done on a 55 years old male patient, John Doe. Okay, so think of this as an assistant, and you can go to and help you with your work. So we'll talk about this more here. Another topic my brain just thought of is let's say if I'm writing an article for a magazine or sending a newsletter to my clients, and I say, write me. I hate to write, by the way, and I'm a terrible speller, and I'm not a good writer, and I always depend on good people around me to help me with writing. But this is my new assistant where I can go and you can be as detailed as you want, and it will get the more detail is going to write for you, and you can just chat back and say, give me more, give me less, or redo this, or make it more sophisticated or more complicated. So this is the article that I wrote for me, and it came back and gave me suggestions of each of the points that you need to watch for. So the question was, or the article, or write me an article for best practice to secure my password for medical office. And this is what all the recommendation, this is all perfect answers. This is exactly what I would tell somebody but I just have to think of all of this and write it, that this is there written for you. Then I came back and say, well, what software password management would you recommend? And it came back and it just responded with I use LastPass, by the way, and those are all good names here. And then it, of course, is giving you a political comment at the bottom here, you should, and things like that. So this is, the worst thing people do is having the same password and username for every single account. There's a lot of people out there that have that. And by using a password management, there's no way you're going to remember. Like I probably have over 200 accounts. There's no way I will be able to memorize over 200 accounts. Nobody can. And with password management, you have every account has a unique password. So if somebody ever compromise your account, they don't have access to everything, to your bank account and everything. Then, of course, it's talking about the two-factor authentication, which is highly recommended. So it answered almost everything as what a consultant will do. Then another casual thing is, I do have Muslim employees at MicroEyes, and I just wanted to write a note to wish them a happy Ramadan. We are in Ramadan, and I just said, write me a happy Ramadan note, and this is what it came up with. Okay. So this is, think of this as, it does other things that it's very scary what it does, and including like coding, programming, it writes programs for you. So we don't know yet how is this going to be utilized. A lot of people think artificial intelligence is going to replace so many people's jobs, but so the computers 35 years ago, everybody thought computers are going to replace humans. Which is they probably did, but it created many other opportunities. Programmers might utilize something like that to make your life easier, and we just don't know how it's going to be used. But I want you to maybe learn this from me, not from your kids. Your kids, if you have any kids, they probably know about this already, and they might think it's too complicated for you to know, or they don't want you to give you the secrets. But I want you to learn it from us, as we always try to give you the latest and the greatest tools out there. There's nothing for me here. I don't resell this. I have no stake in this. Just that I think it's something that you're going to hear a lot of and going to be integrated in our life. How? I don't know yet. I can only guess, but I cannot tell you how this is going to be integrated to our lives. And I think many programs in the future, software, they might have, they use this in the background to give you a suggestion, and artificial intelligence is going to be integrated in almost everything we do. I hope you like what you see, and I hope you can use it to become an extra assistant for you to make your life easier and your job faster and more efficient. So any questions? If you have no questions, I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to thank you for your being a client of MicroWise, and let me put my contact information back again on the screen. If you have any question, you think of it after the meeting, or if you're watching this pre-record, like recorded, please contact me. And I want to thank you again for taking time out of your schedule and join us today. Thank you for your business and have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.